It's payday, you wake up a little differently that morning. There's no alarm panic. No tight feeling in your chest that's been sitting there since Tuesday. You check your phone before you even get out of bed, and there it is, the number higher than it's been in 2 weeks. Maybe higher than it's been all month, and for about 45 minutes, you feel free, you make your coffee a little slower, you breathe a little easier. Maybe you even let yourself think about that thing you've been putting off buying. You tell yourself this month will be different. This month, you're going to be smarter, more disciplined, more intentional, and then, 11 days later, you're checking your account again, except this time, your stomach drops. Where did it go? Here's what nobody tells you: the average American runs out of money 11 days before their next paycheck. Not the unemployed, not people in poverty, working people, people with jobs, people with salaries. People who are doing, by every external measure, just fine, and the reason it keeps happening has nothing to do with laziness, nothing to do with discipline. Nothing to do with how hard you work or how much you care. It's happening because of something going on inside your brain. A set of invisible psychological patterns. Patterns that were wired into you long before you ever earned your first dollar. Patterns that no school, no parent, and no financial advisor ever sat you down and explained. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly what those patterns are, where they come from, and more importantly, how you finally break them. Because the paycheck isn't the problem, you were never the problem. Here's what actually happens on payday. Inside your brain, the moment that deposit hits, your brain releases a small flood of dopamine. The same chemical triggered by food. By social approval. By winning. Your nervous system reads that number on the screen and sends one clear signal: you are safe. And when you feel safe, you spend. Psychologists call it the arrival fallacy. It's the deeply human belief that once something arrives, the money, the promotion, the raise, everything will finally feel okay. You'll finally feel in control. You'll finally feel like enough. But here's the cruel truth about the arrival fallacy: the feeling lasts about 48 hours. Because within 2 days of getting paid, most people have already made the decisions that will define the rest of their month. The takeout on payday night because you earned it. The online order you'd been holding in your cart for 2 weeks. The round of drinks you covered because it felt good to be the one who could. The tank of gas, the coffee. The top up on the subscription you forgot was even running. None of it felt reckless, all of it felt deserved. And that word, deserved, is doing something very dangerous to your finances. Because you do deserve good things, that part is true, but your brain has quietly learned to connect spending with self-worth. To connect buying with relief. To connect that brief moment of treating yourself with proof that all the hard work means something. And when your self-worth is wrapped up in what you can afford to buy, every financial decision stops being logical. It becomes emotional. It becomes identity. It becomes survival. The Federal Reserve found that 37% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. Not 37% of the unemployed. 37% of Americans, broadly including people earning $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. The paycheck is arriving, the money is real. So why does it keep vanishing? Because the payday high is real, but it has an expiry date your bank account can't afford. And what comes after the high is where things get quietly, invisibly, devastating. So if it's not irresponsibility, what is it? It's 4 things. For patterns so quiet, so normalized, so deeply woven into everyday life that most people never even notice them, until they're sitting in their car in a parking lot, staring at a balance that doesn't make sense. The first one is lifestyle creep. You got a raise 2 years ago, maybe it was $200 a month extra, maybe $400, and you thought, good, I'll save that, but instead, without any single dramatic decision, your life got slightly more expensive. The apartment upgrade, the better gym of the grocery store that feels nicer, the Uber instead of the bus because you've had a long week and you deserve a little comfort. Each upgrade made complete sense in the moment. Together, they silently consumed every dollar of that raise, and then some. Lifestyle creep doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like progress. That's what makes it so dangerous. The second silent killer is subscription bleed. The average American is paying for 4.5 streaming services at any given time: ad, cloud storage, music, meal kits, of fitness apps, news subscriptions, that software trial you forgot to cancel, and you're looking at anywhere between $150 and $300 a month leaving your account. In amounts so small they never trigger alarm. $7 here, $12 there, $14.99 for something you use twice in January. Death by 1,000 cuts doesn't feel like dying. It just feels like Tuesday. The third killer is what I call the social spending tax. This one is the most painful, and the least talked about. If you grew up with less, or if you're the person in your friend group who has made it to a certain level, you know the pressure. The dinner you couldn't really afford but said yes to because you didn't want to explain, the birthday gift that stretched your budget because you didn't want to look like you were struggling. The route of drinks you bought because for one evening you wanted to feel like everyone else. Sociologists call this code switching. The financial version is quietly brutal. You are spending money you don't have. To perform a version of yourself you feel you need to be in rooms where everyone else might be doing the exact same thing. The fourth killer is the guilt purchase. You had a hard week. A brutal meeting. A difficult conversation. A day where nothing went right and everything felt heavy, and so you bought something, not because you needed it, because you needed to feel something good. Because you needed one moment in the week that felt like a reward, like proof that you matter. There is nothing wrong with you for doing that. It is one of the most human things there is, but here is the math. And this is where it gets real. $14 a day. That's it. 1 coffee. 1 lunch upgrade. 1 small impulse buy. 1 forgotten subscription charge. $14 a day is $420 a month. It is $5,040 a year. Over 5 years, with even modest investment returns, that number becomes close to $34,000. Not because you were reckless, not because you were careless. Because nobody ever showed you where it was going. And here's the part that will stay with you. One of these 4 patterns is almost certainly costing you more than your car payment every single month. And until right now, you probably couldn't have named it, but naming it is only half the picture, because the real reason the cycle keeps repeating, the reason discipline alone never seems to work, goes much deeper than spending habits. It lives in your psychology, and it was put there long before you ever had a paycheck to lose. Here is something that 2 Harvard economists discovered that changed the way scientists think about poverty and money. Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shaffer spent years studying why people in financial stress make decisions that seem, from the outside, to make their situation worse. Why someone drowning in debt takes out another loan, why someone who can't pay rent still goes out on Friday night, why the person who swears they'll save this month doesn't, and what they found wasn't weakness. It wasn't poor character. It wasn't a lack of ambition. It was bandwidth. When your brain is consumed by financial stress, when you are constantly calculating, constantly anxious, constantly aware of what you don't have. It literally reduces your cognitive capacity, your ability to plan, your ability to delay gratification, your ability to make the long-term decision over the short-term relief. Scarcity doesn't just empty your wallet. It occupies your mind, and an occupied mind makes worse decisions, which creates more scarcity, which occupies the mind further. It is a loop, and it was never your fault for being inside it. Then there is what I call the what's the point collapse. You felt it, that moment, usually late at night, usually after checking your account, where the numbers feel so far from where you want to be that doing anything feels pointless. Why save $50 when you have $4,000 in credit card debt? Why budget when rent alone takes half of everything? Why plan for a future that feels like it belongs to other people? The feeling is not laziness, that feeling is your brain protecting itself from hope, because hope, when it has been disappointed enough times, starts to feel more dangerous than giving up. And underneath all of it, for so many people watching this, is something even older. Nobody taught you this, not your parents, because nobody taught them either, not your school, because financial literacy is still, in 2026, barely a footnote in most curriculums. Not your first job, not your first bank account, not the first time you got a paycheck and had absolutely no framework for what to do with it. You were handed money and expected to know, and when you didn't, when the cycle started, some quiet part of you decided it was proof of something, proof that you weren't good with money, proof that wealth was for other kinds of people. Proof that no matter how hard you tried, this was just how your life was going to feel. That belief is the most expensive thing you own. And then, just to make it worse, you open Instagram, you see Devin or someone like Devin. Same age as you, similar background, and somehow Devin is on a holiday you can't afford. In an apartment that looks nothing like yours, casually mentioning a new car. A new investment. A new opportunity, and you sit there. In your actual life, wondering what you missed. What Devin knows that you don't, what it is about you that can't seem to get ahead the way everyone else apparently is. Here is what I need you to hear. Devin is probably carrying $23,000 in credit card debt and financing that holiday on a buy now pay later scheme that he hasn't told anyone about. The Federal Reserve's 2024 data shows that Americans between 35 and 44 carry an average credit card balance of over $9,000. The curated life is almost never the real one. You are not behind Devin, you are not behind anyone, you are simply someone who was never given the map and has been trying to navigate without one. And that, finally, is about to change, because the shift isn't about discipline. It isn't about cutting every joy from your life. IT isn't about becoming a different person. It's about understanding three things that, once you see them, you genuinely cannot unsee. So here is the shift, not a budget template, not a 30-day challenge, not a motivational quote you screenshot and forget by Thursday. 3 fundamental changes in how you relate to money that work precisely because they work with your psychology instead of against it. The first shift is this. Pay yourself before your brain wakes up, not at the end of the month with whatever is left, not when you feel motivated, the morning your paycheck lands, before the dopamine fades. Before the arrival fallacy kicks in, and before the social plans and the subscriptions and the guilt purchases get their turn. An automatic transfer moves money into a separate account, not a huge amount. Not an amount that hurts, even $30, even $50. The number is almost irrelevant at the start. What matters is the system. Because Vanguard's behavioral research found that people who automate their savings save 3 times more over a 10-year period than people who save manually. Not because they earn more and not because they are more disciplined, but because they removed the decision entirely. You cannot spend what your brain never got to see as available. The second shift is the 24-hour rule. Any non-essential purchase over $30, you wait, not forever. 24 hours, you close the tab, you leave the store, you sit with the want for one day. What you will find, and this will surprise you, is that roughly 60% of those purchases simply lose their urgency. The thing that felt necessary at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday feels optional by Thursday evening. You didn't use discipline, you just used time. The third shift is the one that changes everything at the root. You give every dollar a name before the month begins, not a complicated spreadsheet, not a color-coded system that takes 3 hours to build and gets abandoned by week 2. Just a simple, honest conversation with yourself before the month starts about where the money is going: rent, food, transport, savings, and then, deliberately, intentionally, a category for joy, for the dinner. For the thing that makes the hard work feel worth it. Zero-based budgeting doesn't mean zero spending on things you love. It means $0 left unaccounted for. It means every pound, every dollar has a job, and when money has a job, it stops disappearing. Because here is what nobody tells you about budgeting: IT isn't restriction done right. IT is the first time in your adult life that money feels like it is working for you instead of slipping through your hands while you watch. And here is the deeper truth underneath all 3 of these shifts: you are not trying to become a more disciplined version of who you are now, you are becoming someone who simply knows how money works and acts accordingly. Identity-based change, not "I need to be better with money," but "I am someone who pays themselves first. I am someone who names their dollars. I am someone who waits 24 hours, say it differently, and you live it differently. 1 year from today. If you apply even one of these 3 shifts, your financial life will look measurably different. Not perfect, not a highlight reel, but different in a way you can feel. In a way that shows up in your account balance on day 11 of the month. In a way that means the next payday doesn't just bring 48 hours of relief. It brings actual, compounding, quiet progress. You were not failing at money, you were fighting a system inside your own head that was built without your knowledge, reinforced without your consent, and running in the background of every financial decision you have ever made. Now you can see it, and the moment you can see something, truly see it, it loses its power over you. The loop ends here. If this video made something click for you, hit subscribe, because every week on this channel, we go deeper into the money conversations that most people are too uncomfortable to have, the ones about guilt and family, and the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and what actually closes that gap. And if you want to go even deeper, the next video is sitting right there. It's about something most working people never see coming, and it's quietly costing them more than anything we talked about today. I'll see you there. The content in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult a qualified financial advisor before making any financial decisions.